Hello and welcome to Epic Loot Radio. I'm your host, Brian, and joining me, we've got a panel of guests that are amazing content creators. First, you know him well. He's been here on the show many times before. Rory Khan, welcome back to the program. How are you doing today, dude?
I am hectic. That's how I describe my latest week or so. It's like always hectic. I'm always thinking about so many different things, working on so many different projects, going completely and utterly insane. I was actually kind of surprised. You're like, we have a panel of amazing content creators, and I'm like, crap, does that mean I didn't make it on the show? The hell's he talking about?
he got cut right as the intro was running. We just right click remove. I have to speak truth all the time, and I am sorry, sir. You didn't do the job.
Yeah, go ahead, I didn't make the cut.
And guys, if you haven't seen his face before, if you're not following Hunting for Games, Hunter, welcome to your first Epic Loot Radio. Thanks for coming.
I'm pumped to be here. Thanks for inviting me out. This is awesome.
Yeah, I know, dude. It's always fun. Like one of the things, kind of like how the meat is made, or whatever the term would be, is like how
the sausage.
How the sausage is made. Behind the scenes baseball is that like the hardest thing about podcasting is like scheduling. It's because it's like everybody's like, you got like lives, families, you know, work, and it's like, so when you said, because we've been actually trying to do a collab together, Hunter and I, specifically on Final Fantasy 11, and so hopefully you guys stick around for that. That's going to be the plan, for that coming up. But beyond that, it was like, hey, you're free on Friday? Just come on the podcast. We got a lot to talk about. So what are you up to, dude? What are you playing, and how's life doing?
Oh, geez, life's good. I've been playing a lot. I'm having a bit of a, I don't know how to describe it, an MMO bounce moment where I'm kind of bouncing between Final Fantasy 11, which is, you know, obviously always there in the background, but the retail version, a private server version, and I've gotten a bit of a resurgence of my interest in 14 lately. So I've been trying to catch up for Endwalker. But it's tough. It's tough keeping up with multiple MMOs at the same time. So it's been hectic gaming wise. Plus, I finally got my hands on a PS5, so it's kind of thrown a bunch of single player games I had on the backlog forever. Just been working my way through those.
Okay. Now listen, you have to play Demon Souls at this point. Come on.
I can't wait. Demon Souls is the only one of the Dark Souls series that I beat. Every other one I made it to some variation of poison or death, and I was like, I can't go any further. But Demon Souls I did beat. I loved Demon Souls. I can't wait to play it on PS5.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
A ton of fun.
I'm gonna let you guys manage something real quick because it's saying that this is private, so we're gonna go ahead and say this is public. A fun little behind the scenes. I was literally like seeing comments come in during the live show, but they weren't even showing up here, and that was really confusing. So I just ran a test, and it was like, comments aren't supported on private videos. I'm like, well, screw you. We're like literally public right now. So we're live. It's working. It looks like chat's flowing in right now. Sean saying first time catching it live. Thank goodness, because this is a conversational podcast, something that should be a lot of fun for us to all enjoy. Do want to say thanks to Keelan, WG Productions, and Vern joining the podcast legends over here on YouTubeGaming Radio, helping to fund the show and keep it rocking and rolling. And also thanks to Luke for his generous donation, allowing the show to come in day and date in MP3 format. If you guys like our podcast that's focused around MMORPGs and also what's going on in gaming during the week, just search Epic Loot Radio wherever podcasts are found. All right, now that I've fixed the troubleshooting problem and we've introduced our panel of guests, in the pre-show, Rory Khan, you were about to go on a rage, and we were like, we should just hit live. We should just do the show. What's grinding that's the segment now. We're just going to turn it into it. What's grinding Rory Khan's gears?
Okay, so I've been covering a lot about the Blizzard situation, like from the lawsuit to the state of World of Warcraft development and all of that stuff. And yesterday, I was made aware that Blizzard is launching an expansion to Hearthstone, which is called Mercenaries. Now, you know that most Blizzard gamers, they tend to be like, they tend to play more than just one Blizzard game.
Right.
And for the purpose of a very specific statistic, which is called an MAU, monthly active users, if you play, say, Diablo 2, Diablo 3, and Hearthstone, you count for 2 users. If you play Warcraft, you count for 3. So the more games you play, the better it is for you. So World of Warcraft has seen a massive exodus. We've seen the numbers from Bellular and all of this stuff, right?
Right.
And how is Blizzard planning on fixing that? Well, for starters, they're bombarding players with a barrage of, we'll fix everything, which this is feedback that players have made on the state of World of Warcraft since like the alpha. You know, like things like, we would like to be able to change covenants freely because we know that you're not going to be able to balance this appropriately. And now Blizzard's going like, well, you can do that now. We're going to fix it for patch 9.5. So they're basically adding a bunch of quality of life features, but a majority of the players is going like, well, it's too little, too late. You know, I'm kind of out. Some players are playing other MMOs. Some players are just like on a waiting pattern and so on and so forth, right? People are making all kinds of different decisions based on what happened with World of Warcraft. So what does Blizzard do? They grab this mercenaries thing that they're launching and they're like, hey, listen, if you buy a 6-month subscription of World of Warcraft, we're going to give you all kinds of goodies for Hearthstone. And according to a video that I saw yesterday from Bellular, when we're talking all kinds of goodies, like I don't know exactly how much a 6-month sub costs. I would imagine it's somewhere below $70, maybe $80, something along those lines.
Roughly, actually, like if you think about a $15 a month, but then you get a discount. So probably somewhere around the ballpark of like $12. So you're looking easily at, you know, $70, give or take your location. I don't know what it's like you guys in the UK.
Yeah, but let's just even say $90. It's probably less than that. I don't know because I've never bought a 6-month sub. So let's say somewhere in the vicinity of $90, right?
Yeah.
And the amount of stuff that you're going to get in Hearthstone is like over 120 or something like that. So basically, if you buy that 6-month subscription, you're going to get over $100 in goods. So you're very incentivized, particularly if you're a Hearthstone player. There's no reason not to do it unless you already have like all of the different cards and whatnot from some expansions, because there's like so many cards that you get. And then on top of it, it's like if you do a bounty in Hearthstone, they're going to give you a special mount in World of Warcraft. So they're basically going to try to squeeze everything they can to bring their player base back. And that to me is extremely frustrating because there hasn't really been a shift in their culture. And right now there's so much momentum behind the everything that's happened on Blizzard that I feel like if players at this point, they just kind of like jump back, it's going to be like nothing ever happened and nothing's really going to change, neither for the players nor the employees, which still haven't had, because I've checked like, I don't know, half an hour ago or whatever, they still haven't had their demands met. Like, you know, they had the walkout, they had like 4 very basic demands that they wanted from nothing. They got nothing out of it so far. So, and Blizzard's just like, hey, here we go. And also, the mercenaries mode is a gotcha that some players are referring to as Hearthstone Shadow Legends. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So that's what's been grinding my gears. I have a video coming up on that on my second channel, but it's crazy. It's just like, come on, man. Like, what the hell?
That's frustrating because they keep reacting by, it's like giving Advil for a fever, but not addressing the cause of the fever. They're not actually interested in fixing the problem. They're reacting to their shareholders' concerns about losing money, which isn't good from a game development standpoint or the culture of the workplace, which both are now in shambles, it seems.
You think that the best way that they could have, like protected the business was to actually like protect the business years ago, like not getting to this point. And I said it probably years ago, but it's like, I know I was very vocal about this in the spring. I was like, Blizzard has a leadership problem. Like its problem begins with leadership and it's going to cost them in the long run. And it's interesting, like in an unfortunate how right I was like that. Like there's things that I wish I was wrong about because of the implications. And this was to a degree that I couldn't even imagine just how wrong ultimately I was. But Hunter, we haven't actually sat down and talked about this whole like Blizzard situation, especially as it relates to like an Exodus, because just to give you guys some context to what we're seeing in numbers, obviously I think Final Fantasy 14 is taking top spot. We've seen also Final Fantasy 11 surging with Ninja going and playing on private servers. We've been playing a little bit. Like I am such a kind of a, like I just kind of make a little bit of progress every week. It's like I'm not stressed about it. It's my literal, I'm not making content creator like escape game, in that regards. Like this is something I play for me.
Yeah.
But Lost Ark over in Korea is surging to the top, not just off the failure of Blizzard, but also like the other N3 companies, like doing lots of little gotchas, little like things that are essentially just kind of hit this tipping point in the industry. So we're seeing all kinds of movement right now. And then obviously we'll talk about on this podcast here in a little bit, the big delay that Lost Ark's here in the West. But like how like from you as a content creator, like we all have different like perspectives from our communities. What say you? What sayest thou, Hunter, on the whole Blizzard crisis?
So it's funny because obviously my community is heavily interested in Final Fantasy 11, which bleeds into 14 too, and then a little bit WoW. But WoW is like kind of a separate thing. For a long time, Final Fantasy 11 players saw them almost as enemy games because it came out a couple years after 11 and kind of took so many
the wind
players
out of the sail.
So,
It did.
Yeah, it crushed.
Yeah, it did.
Crushed us. I mean, you could talk about this for hours. There's so many angles of personally, my interest in WoW's kind of reckoning from a purely the gameplay element, the fall of interest, the exodus of players. If you look at ignoring the company issues, which we shouldn't, but for the context of this conversation, just like from the game, for years, people have been claiming every expansion, like, hey, it seems like we're missing a lot of player requested features that were discussed during, like you were saying, like during the alpha stages, like the obvious call outs that could be fixed. And like you were saying, Brian, I think it's mostly because leadership is pushing for ways to keep players in game and not focusing on ways to keep your game fun and enjoyable. And that's an oversimplification, but I think that's the core of the issue, is that they're trying to keep players in game, subscribed. And overall, over the years, that has just ripped out what made WoW so beloved and has created this, it's almost like gacha game where it's like, you got to keep playing, but not because it's really fun anymore. And seeing players leave that feels good to me, because I don't want the gaming industry to go in that direction. I
appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your honesty so much, because deep down,
feels good. Screw that game. Feels good.
Deep down, the 11 player, like, okay, let's set over obviously the obvious horror. Let's just focus. Like, let's put that over the side and recognize how awful that is. But just to jump in on it, like literally the 11 player in me was like, oh, people are leaving WoW.
Oh, that's
oh my god!
I feel it's so bad. I'm so bad at that, because it's like, but I'm just being honest. Like, it's a whole different compartmental approach. But the fact that like I went and tried WoW, absolutely just thought it was awful, and I don't have a nostalgia for it. And then at the same time, I remember being that petty. I was a hardcore Nintendo fanboy, after all. Like, if y'all don't know this about me, like I was that guy that now I go, when I run into that hardcore fanboyism, I don't meet it with like hate or anger. I meet it with empathy, because I remember being that way. And I'm like, okay, how do we actually like soften the edges and turn you back into like a real boy? You know, in that kind of mindset. Anyway, sorry, Hunter, I cut you off, dude.
No, I'm glad you did, because there's two sides to that. The part that I'm excited about is that I don't want those kind of game development practices to be rewarded with the amount of money that was flowing into World of Warcraft, because that encourages other company. Like, how does that stop a Square Enix, a Capcom, if they make an MMO, from saying like, hey, this is working. It's not only making money, but it has a huge player base that must translate to enjoyable fun that these players are having. We should do the same things. And we've seen that. We've seen that with countless like other games. But the problem is, once you're in an MMO, you're so entrenched, it's so hard to leave, because you're familiar with how the game works. You've got time invested in the game, and it's hard to get out. So I feel like those numbers have been inflated for years with fans. They're just like, I love what World of Warcraft was, and I'm going to keep playing it. The other side of that, I never want to see the biggest game in, especially my favorite genre of MMORPGs, just fail, because I feel like that can only hurt the genre. It makes investors scared that, hey, maybe MMORPGs aren't safe to invest to. It makes if all of a sudden like Final Fantasy 14, and this is, there's other games out there, Elder Scrolls Online, Guild Wars 2 is still huge. But pretend for a second,
Destiny 2 is another like one that like it kind of like everybody's like, oh, it's dead, it's dying, and it's like you go look at the numbers, you're like,
yeah, it's like I wish I was that dead or dying.
Yeah, I know. I'd kill for that level of death meme. Anyway, go ahead.
But if 14 is the only, if all of a sudden there's only 14 on the top of a mountain, that can only hurt its development, because there's no pressure, there's no evolution in other games in the industry that everyone's like, oh, maybe we should bring something like that feature into 14. That was really cool to see a different game trying that. So I want there to be competition. I don't want all the games except 14 and 11 to just like collapse, because they'll eventually collapse too. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, seeing the way that they've pushed WoW's development over the past few years, because I've tried every expansion, the past 3 expansions. I I always get excited. I'm like, this is the one where they fix things and it's going to finally pull me in as a new player and start getting hyped. And I barely make it to the end of the leveling process and then I never get into the end games. I just doesn't, something about them hasn't grabbed me. And it's rewarding to see that fans of the game are also frustrated, because I'm hoping that means we push in better directions. But no, I guess the way I did say that just good was kind of just like, yeah, screw WoW. We won. 11 still standing.
I want to get Rory in on this, because it's like Hunter and I obviously, I think, have a massive bias. It's
huge bias.
Huge bias. Huge. I got to go with the meme. What I know I said some salacious things, dude. Rory, what do you think?
It's like, to me, my bias is on the exact opposite direction. I'm extremely biased towards World of Warcraft, because I have amazing memories of playing World of Warcraft. Like, I played it a little bit during vanilla. I came in on the tail end of vanilla. I played Burning Crusade. I played Wrath of the Lich King, which was the best expansion in World of Warcraft as far as I'm concerned. And it's like, I have amazing memories of those times, and the game back then was actually really good. And there wasn't all of these systems about, oh, you have to grind this thing for the power creep because of the thing, and here's this vault that gives you loot on a weekly basis like you're playing a goddamn mobile game. It's like, now Blizzard, all they have is systems. Like, when people make the meme of World of Warcraft system lands, I know that it's a meme, but it's actually true. It is what we have. We have all these different systems. And to me, it actually hurts to see, the game become as bad as it is. But in a way, it's also kind of vindicating, because that gives me hope that, if the game is going this bad and Blizzard are suddenly making all these different changes, can we enact meaningful change into the culture of Blizzard? Not even just for ourselves as players, but also for the employees. Because, like, one of the main reasons why the game sucks right now is because the employees aren't being paid. And it's like, look, you pay people in peanuts, you get monkeys. Like, what do you expect? Well, that's just the way it's going to work.
You also have a bad environment, so that it's like you're stressed out, and you're kind of like, and you want to make good games. I when it comes down to the leadership kind of thing that I brought up, it's like, I bet you have a community of developers there, passionate about making games, willing to take less money because they're at Blizzard, because they're working on World of Warcraft, and they want to do this. I had a friend, I still have a friend. She's alive, but she was really excited about teaching, and she went to college for teaching. This is what she was going to do. She became a teacher, and she loved it. And then after 2 years, she quit, and she was done, because it was that she wanted to teach, but there was all this bureaucracy that just destroyed what I saw for 6 years as just somebody who was just passionate about teaching these kids. And so it's like, I kind of was like, oh my gosh, that's what I felt was happening within the Blizzard devs, where, like, I'm sure they were like, yeah, we hear you. We see this feedback. We've got this information, and we can't do anything about it because we're just we're sitting in 16 meetings every day. I remember one time, like, and this is not within game development, but I was in this meeting all day. It ended up being like multiple meetings, but we started the morning in meetings, we ended the morning in meetings, ended the day in meetings. Well, and then at the end of the day, they're like, hey, what's the status of this that we talked about at the beginning? It's like, I've been sitting literally here all day. Like, I have not, I've been taking notes and been kind of relaying messages. The status is, we got your request this morning and we haven't done anything with it. Like, and I was just flabbergasted, because the person asking it should have obviously known that, but I think it was more performative in its nature. So that's just kind of where I fall in line with it. And that's where, when we talk about like games that have really struggled, when you go look at them, it's like they're spending more time where they're just watching numbers, and they're not really catching the drift that players say. I think that's one of the biggest feedback is like I put my feedback into YouTubeGaming all the time. Like, they'll tweet out something, and I'm like, hi, Brian here. I'm a YouTuber. Like, we haven't heard from anybody over at YouTubeGaming in like 18 months. It's really cool that you're buying, like, Dr. Lupo and Tim the Tap Man. I'm really happy for those guys. But, like, are y'all working on anything? You said you were 18 months ago.
What's in the pipe?
What's in the pipeline? Hunter, do you got any intake on, and I want to get Rory's thoughts as well, but we've seen some big shifts. Is YouTube making moves? Like, are you as a YouTuber, like, thinking of, it? Because I know you stream over on Twitch as well. I think we all do. Yeah. What are your thoughts? Yeah,
I think if you're a streamer on Twitch right now, and this is, I'm not like reading the tea leaves super. I didn't see this coming. Like, I think you have to be thinking about shifting to YouTube. Now, we were talking about this a little bit before, but like, I think YouTube still has to do a few more things to become the streaming powerhouse that Twitch is, from like a day in, day out community. Like you hang out and sit there, and like on Wednesdays we stream. I don't think they're quite there yet, but they're clearly putting money into it. And I don't know if you've ever watched Harris Heller, Alpha Gaming.
Yeah,
he recently made the switch from Twitch to YouTube, and that's the whole foundation of his business, and his YouTube as well stream has been about live streaming. And his jump to Twitch was my first like wake up call of like, oh, or jump off of Twitch. I was like, I should maybe pay attention to this, because if he's leaving, that can't be good. Because he admits that right now, with the way Twitch works, for streamers, that it is your full-time business. You can make a lot more money on Twitch, so it's very hard for people to leave Twitch. But looking ahead to how Twitch has updated their platform in the past few years, and what YouTube has done, and what in theory YouTube could do, he thinks YouTube has the leg up in the future, which is I would definitely pay attention to him, not to me. I'm terrible with insight. I will always be the last person off the train, like, oh, everybody left. Are we going somewhere new? But
well, I love it because you cover a lot of Final Fantasy 11, and it's like, it just feels very thematic to me.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, are we in a new game? I'm still playing Final Fantasy 11 over here. Yeah, so I think we'll see a lot of people start shifting to YouTube. The community that we've built on Twitch with Hunt for Games is so awesome that I hate to even try to shift that. And that's my biggest fear, is like, I don't want to lose anybody. If I had like 100% confidence that everybody that hangs out with us every week on Twitch came with us to YouTube, like I would probably have shifted already, but I can't guarantee that'll happen. And the experience that we have on Twitch is fantastic. I would love for, instead of seeing this come true where YouTube is just the clear winner, I would love to see Twitch enact some of the changes that the community's been asking for, and fight back a little bit. I mean, Amazon's got big pull, big bucks. They could totally do it if they want to.
I hear they're spending money on delaying Lost Ark, so I don't know. You got buckets here, you got buckets over there. I want to go. I want to toss over to Rory, because specifically, like, I think you have a lot of insight when it comes to the platform. Like, you have been very successful over on YouTube. Your streams, I think, are very, like, I find them fun to work and lurk on. Not only because you just made me a moderator. I do appreciate the vote of confidence. Ban.
Just bring out the ban hammer, ban everybody.
Just like, yeah, guys, I finally have a taste of power.
I think it's very dangerous for people to suddenly make the move from Twitch to YouTube, because I think that a lot of people are going to see this. You know, I don't know how many people even know that JD Courage was also someone that YouTube kind of just like grabbed.
That was last year. They just like been, but it's not.
Was it last year? Wasn't it a while? I thought it was like 19. I'm not sure, because I feel like that happened
the COVID year. It's a COVID year. Like
but it's like, so they got Courage in here, and then it's like they got Dr. Disrespect for free because Twitch just like did something. We still don't know exactly what happened.
No idea what.
A lot of people, and the theory that makes the most sense is that Twitch didn't feel like paying the $1 million contract, because he was probably leveraging an offer from Mixer to get more money from Twitch, and then Mixer exploded, and Twitch said, well, now we don't have to pay you if we get rid of you. Like, that's like the working theory, but you know, nobody actually knows for sure. So like, they have Courage, they have Dr. Disrespect. What's the common with these people? They play shooters. Specifically right now, they play Warzone. So then they go and they get Dr. Lupo. What does he play? Warzone. They go and they get Tim the Tatman. What does he play? Warzone. So they're building an ecosystem of streamers that all stream essentially kind of like the same game, so that they're trying to see, will users, when they get out of this stream, go into another stream? Because that's the thing with YouTube. It's like, with most YouTube streams, I would argue, like, stream ends, people leave, they go watch VODs. They don't leave to go watch another stream. On Twitch, it's the other way around. Stream ends, they go watch somebody else. They even have like that chart that links all of the streamers together, and like, oh, if the person watches this guy, he's likely to watch this other guy. They have like all of that data of like what type of groups intermingle and like cross-pollinate, so to speak, over on Twitch. And so the reason why I think like for them, this is great because they're getting like $1 million contracts. They're going to cross-pollinate their audiences. It's fantastic. And it is starting to build like an ecosystem of streaming on Twitch. But, for us, we play RPGs. That's nothing. Like, very few of those people. Yeah, like very few of the people that are watching the FPS stuff are going to be interested in watching RPG content or MMORPG. They probably don't care about most of that stuff. So for us, these moves mean nothing. But the problem is with YouTube making these moves, I think that a lot of streamers are going to start thinking, hey, maybe I should move over to the YouTube. And the problem is the way that YouTube is right now, if you simply move over and do things the way that you were doing on Twitch, you're not going to be successful. Right. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to move over from Twitch from streaming every day or however often you stream to just like doing the same old thing. Because again, like I said, streaming on YouTube is an event type thing right now. So it's like whenever something big happens, which is why you can instantly tell, like to give you an idea, yesterday, Tim the Tatman on the first day of his live stream, last time I checked, he was like cracking 110,000 concurrent viewers. Today, when he started the stream, he was like at 50,000. And it's like, dude, 50,000, it's just like, man, I'd settle for 1,000, it's like, that'd be great.
Numbers, then it's like, well.
But it's like, if you take into consideration that just the day before, because the day before it was an event, it was his first stream coming back. The day after, it's no longer an event. It's just like, business as usual. It was the same thing with that one time that Ninja streamed on here. He also had like, I think he broke 200,000 or something ridiculous like that. Yeah. And we also have, Doc, when the Doc first came here, because, he was booted out of Twitch, he had like over 100, I think he even had 400. I don't know, it was a ridiculous number. It was absurd. And now you go to one of his streams, what he's got? He's got like 20,000, 30,000, which again, still amazing numbers, but not even remotely comparable to when their streams were an event.
But how many likes did he get? That's what I want to know. How many people hit that like button?
Who knows? And you guys should hit the like button on this video because it helps us out a lot. Thank you. But the point that I'm trying to make is if you're someone that streams on Twitch and you're trying to come over to YouTube, you need to have a content strategy. It can't just be like, I'm just going to come here and continue streaming the way that I was. You're going to drive a YouTube channel into the ground doing that kind of stuff. And you don't have the huge audiences that these other creators have that they can actually afford to do that and still like, keep on trucking. It's perfectly fine for them. Not even a remotely a problem. And I can even tell you one thing, right? When I first started streaming on YouTube, which was a long, long time ago, because I've been doing this for a while, we even tested a feature for YouTube, because I was working for Broadband TV at the time, who are the people that own TGN. And we were testing a feature, and this was like literally me and two other people in my team. We were testing this feature that YouTube had, which was a multicam feature, which I think it still does. I don't see a lot of people use it. But the idea is you send multiple feeds of your stream into the same channel, and YouTube would be able to swap between those feeds. So we would have, like, say we're playing Heroes of the Storm, and we would have 4 camera feeds, and you would be able to pick. So it's like, I want to watch Rurikon. I want to watch Pally Time. I want to watch some. You'd be able to choose the creator that you wanted to watch on that same live stream, and it's all built into the system. And when we tested it, it wasn't working. It was broken. So we're testing this, and it's like, hey, YouTube, we want to use this feature. We contact YouTube directly, and we tell them, listen, we want to use this feature, but it's broken. So what do? They fix the feature, and then they sponsored Achievement Hunter, I think, like it's a really big channel. They sponsored that channel to use that feature that we researched and told them to fix. They sponsored them to do like a stream showing off that feature. And I was like, really, YouTube? Really, dude? Thanks.
What does YouTube need to do? Especially like I would say it goes kind of beyond gaming, because that's one of the things Twitch really has struggled with, is getting beyond gaming specifically, where YouTube has gaming culture, but it also has other things, meaning like what features do you think that YouTube needs to bring to the forefront of live streaming to help essentially bridge that gap? Because not everybody's going to be getting $1 million contract. The only MMO player I could think that would be getting an MMO like that kind of contract would be Asmon. And outside of him, like everybody else, we're just happy to be here. Thanks so much for being here.
It's actually very simple to fix the problem. I mean, it's very simple from a conceptual standpoint. I don't know how hard it is to actually implement, but it's super simple. The easiest thing to do is basically make it so that live streams only have a positive effect on the algorithm and not a negative one. Because what happens, say I live stream something and I leave the VOD up, right? I leave the VOD up in my feed, and people are maybe used to different content in my channel, like they're used to my Monster Hunter Rise guides. Maybe they're not interested in watching a 4-hour live stream where I'm just playing Monster Hunter Rise. They're like, no, I want to see a weapon guide or something like that. I don't want to watch you play the game. And, you know, the problem is when those live streams, because, you know, they take a while to process after you finish the live stream and then they go public. I'm sure you're aware of this, Brian.
Yeah.
And what happens is if people don't click that live stream, it has a negative effect to the rest of your content, because for all intents and purposes, YouTube treats that live stream like a regular video. And if you put out a video that doesn't get engagement, what's going to happen is that video is going to negatively influence the rest of your content. So what they need to do, in my opinion, my layman opinion, right, is that you need to make it so that live streams don't have a negative impact on your content. So like, for instance, if you go to Dr. Disrespect's channel, you're not going to find his live streams there archived unless they're unlisted in a hidden playlist somewhere. You're not going to find them. Why? Because that negatively impacts, you know, the highlights of his content that he puts up. And that is the problem with YouTube live stream. Like if YouTube simply did this, people would be able to come over from Twitch and just resume streaming here, just like they do on Twitch, and then just do videos on the side as well. And that would organically grow their channel, because the live streams would not be negatively impacting the rest of their content. That's all they need to do. Like if they just do that, they'll fix the whole thing. Now, the thing is, it's easy for me to say this. I don't know how complicated it is to fix it from a coding perspective, but I also imagine it can't be that hard. You know, just treat live streams different. They already have a different classification. Like if you go to the back end of YouTube, live streams are on a different thing. They're not next to your other videos. There's a different thing. So they can already identify whether something is a live stream or not. Then it's just tweaking how that is going to affect the channels algorithmically. And that will basically make it a lot easier for people to basically stream without the downsides of hurting the rest of their content. Because you'll notice most content creators unlist their streams when they're done. Yeah. Like if you look at Bellular, for instance, who streams like his podcast on Bellular Gaming, he'll unlist the stream after he's done to make sure that it doesn't impact the rest of his content.
That's what we were doing over on Ginger Prime. I was we were multi-streaming the podcast to Gaming Radio and to Prime. But what ended up being, I was always just letting Prime unlist. And the reason we were going to Prime was because obviously it's got the bigger community that wants to engage with the show and makes the chat obviously lively. And also chat, by the way, who's here with us, you're amazing. Thanks so much for actually watching it on Ginger Gaming Radio. But when we saw that, it was like Gaming Radio was just really struggling because there was no like, why is this? And so from a thematic perspective, it just makes sense to have it here, and that's just going to be how the plan rolls forward. Hunter, like, what would you like to see change? Like, what would bring you over? Obviously, money would probably be like, you know, hey, this is a
bag of money.
Well, I mean, like, we recognize you play MMORPGs. That we equate that algorithmically to be a. How about $20?
Yeah, right.
Like that's the value MMO players have.
I will take whatever you will understand. Yeah, I think, you know, one thing that Twitch has like failed to grow is they've got this amazing landing page for both, you know, a single channel. You can kind of devise around like welcome to Hunt for Games, even if I'm offline, like a little trailer comes up now and all sorts of, you can watch previous videos and clips and everything. And they never really expanded upon searchability of clips and like finding cool clips. Like it's impossible to find clips on Twitch. You just have to dig around in a single person's going from like top to bottom of like views. On YouTube, I feel like they don't have that like, I just want to see a ton of live. When YouTube Gaming came out, that's kind of what they were showing, but it still wasn't sort of that. They just need to make streaming a forefront of YouTube, and it's not. It seems like this sort of dirty stepchild that they will still be like, no, but seriously, you like live streaming is amazing. We're like, okay, but you kind of hate it. You hide it away, and unless you're subscribed to somebody, it's so hard to find live streamers. And especially if you then want to dig in a topic like MMOs or even a game, it's just not designed around that. So like you said before, if we try to if my stream ends, it's unlikely on YouTube. It's unlikely that somebody would hop to another Final Fantasy 11 or either another MMO stream, because there's nothing in place from a design UI perspective to enable that. So people are probably going to either watch a couple videos or just leave. And Twitch encourages with, the raid mechanics and
the raid mechanics
hosting.
is huge.
All the things on Twitch are stay on Twitch, go to another streamer, easily find other people streaming the same game you were watching. Now, finding different people within that game can be tough because it's very easy to say like, okay, who's the top streamer in this game? But then beyond that, of like finding new content creators that maybe fit your format or your style or what you're looking for, that can be a little bit trickier, which is where I think Twitch is kind of failing. And YouTube could be better for that because they have this backlog of videos that you could pull from to kind of get a feel for what kind of streamer are they. But it doesn't push you to anything. They're just kind of like, somebody you like is streaming now. And I think, like you were both saying, they just need to take it further, and they're not.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Ultimately, like I have a theory that I think something's coming down the road. Yes, money is making people move, but outside of money, I think that like when you talk about Harris Heller, like whether he knows something or doesn't, it's like it just makes me go like, okay, there's like YouTube needs like a handful of things. You guys kind of pointed out like just two real key items. Like and YouTube said that they were working on those items, and it's been like 18 months and just been quiet. So it's like I'm wondering if they're almost ready to sit here and say, okay, here's here's us actually stepping into the arena. And YouTube's going, and if they do that, it is like a 200 pound gorilla just ready to sit here and compete. And I think that's going to help benefit content creators. It's going to help benefit communities and viewers, and it's going to help overall make who knows, like we just talked at the start of the show, the shifting in the WoW landscape driving, and then now like maybe there's a shifting in the content creation landscape to a degree. So I guess we'll keep you guys up to date on our thoughts on that one. Now, I'm going to talk about the Lost Ark delay. It's kind of coupled with New World. Hunter, have you been following New World at all? Let's get kind of a gauge on where you are with that game, because I think that is going to be a piece of this conversation, because I saw chat earlier talking about how Lost Ark was delayed to benefit New World. What do you think?
Ooh, interesting. I hadn't heard that angle of it. That would make sense though. No, I have been following New World. I have not stepped foot in the game for any of the open beta periods at all. I've been following its development. I'm very curious. I can't wait for it to be released. I have a bad history, and this is terrible from like a content creator standpoint, but I have a bad history of burning myself out in alphas and betas, and then the game launches and I have no interest in playing anymore, even if it's improved dramatically from the experience that I had. So yeah. I told myself with New World, I was like, I'm not going to touch it. But I have been keeping my eye on it because I can't wait for it to finally be released. I think it's late September 28th is supposedly the launch right now.
You have the date right. And so the next open beta is the 9th through the 12th. Okay. So, and I'm like, I am not going to touch that open beta because I'm ready for the 28th. I'm with you. Yeah. Like I know enough about the game that I can share publicly that, I'm just going to be like, I'm ready for the 28th. And also be sure to subscribe to Ginger Prime and be warned about your YouTube feed. It's going to ding the bell and then annoy you because it's a stack of videos that are going to be going live on the 28th.
A million things.
Yeah. Anyway, but like so yeah, you got the date right. You haven't been participating in it. Like, what's your read from the outside then?
So yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's gone through so many changes since it was announced. Initially, it was much more of like it almost reminded me of like Ultima Online style, this huge PvP open world, like free for all. And then they got away from that, which I think was the right move. And this was years ago that they were like, we're not going to do that. The feedback is that that's not what's working. My first kind of warning sign was actually when they introduced the kind of stuff that I like, and they were saying, hey, we're going to start doing some dungeons, more questing, more PvE content, because people are saying they want that. And I was terrified because I didn't want them to be reacting to like the me player base not looking for a PvP game, jumping into some of those alphas and betas and saying like, I want Final Fantasy 11 again. They're like, oh, okay. Like, you guys are all asking for this. Because there's a huge community of PvP players, PvP focused MMO players that don't really have a great game to look for right now. And I want to play that game. Ever since Guild Wars 2 sort of poked me with the idea of like a character that I leveled up and then has this PvP element that is so much fun. I was like, this could be great. Because I never really got into the World of Warcraft PvP, and Final Fantasy XI's PvP was this whole other thing that wasn't really worth discussing in much length. So I've been super excited about it. But honestly, after the feedback last year and they said they were going to delay it, I thought that was a great decision with, seemingly based on the feedback. And then this summer, all the feedback that I saw from everybody that got time with it, and I would love to hear yours, was that it was great. It was just like it was right there, and there were little tweaks missing from making it a fantastic game. But the core of it was tons of fun. People couldn't stop playing it because that's what you want to see. The feedback from a beta is like, hey, there's a couple issues, but like I can't stop playing. The worst is when everybody says they're like, I picked it up. It seems like a good time. There's a few things missing, and I kind of stopped playing because you want the foundation of it to be just grab you, and you can't stop. You keep ripping through it. And all the videos I've seen, it looks like it has all the makings of a great balance between these PvP elements and like a lot of PvE elements that like I can enjoy from both sides. Because I always say I want to enjoy the PvP, and then I get rocked day one. I was like, you know what? There's a reason I never play these games because I just immediately get destroyed. But I'm very excited. I'm glad they delayed it a little bit further. I remember hearing a lot of people say they should even push it out further back than that, till early next year. Mostly because
I don't agree with that feedback.
The fall's heavy release window, but I'm glad it's coming out.
I think the strength of it coming out and having its excitement, people can come play it, and then essentially they'll go play other games, but then they can sit back and say, hey, new update, new weapons, and then essentially rather than like, okay, we're constantly kicking the can down, it's like you got to release at some point. I really enjoyed the beta. I think they use this time to kind of like shore it up and make it solid, and then essentially follow it up with, big update. Oh, another big update, because that's going to be what helps communicate it. I think the biggest test for New World, like I've said this multiple times, is its first expansion. But have you been following the Lost Ark situation at all?
I have. So I first caught wind of Lost Ark when they showed some trailers for its Korean release, which I think it came out in Korea in like 2018. So the trailer I saw must have been 17, 16. And I was like, this game looks amazing. I was super depressed when I found out that it wasn't getting a Western release anytime in the near future. So I'd heard it was finally getting a 2021 release. You mentioning that you wanted to talk about it was actually the first news that was broken that it had been delayed to 2022, which I haven't been waiting for it. So this doesn't like kill me. But I can't wait to play it. I have been dying for a successful MMO ARPG that I can really sink my teeth into for years. And they keep their various games have continuously either been announced or come out and are little lackluster or fallen off. And Lost World always seemed like it was going to be, or Lost Ark was always the one that was, this is it. My only concern is it's been so many years. It's been development from when it started for its overseas release to like when we are now going to be getting it. That's my only fear. Is I'm just terrified it's been in that release window development hell going on. But
I think the strength on that though is tied to the fact that with Lost Ark and with its success and with its resurgence, especially in Korea, that like my fear of it is like it comes out here and then there's no more development. Like, hey, yeah, it's a game, it's got all this great stuff. I think the benefit that Lost Ark will have in 2022 is that it's like, hey, here's this new MMO that actually has been out for 4 years. And so as a new player, like instead of like, oh, I played it and now I'm waiting for new content, it's like, oh my gosh, like this is a really in-depth, game that you can sink your teeth into. So I think it has that strength to it. Rurikhan, any thoughts on was this a strategic move with New World? Did Amazon move people over to get New World out the gate? Like, what do you think?
I don't know if it was a strategic move or not, but there's definitely some cross-pollination between I'm using that word a lot today, the cross-pollination. Yeah. There's definitely some, like, let's say, overlap between the
camera and it's like a little word of the day calendar. It's like cross-pollination. Got it. All right.
But it's like, I think that there's definitely overlap between the audiences of both games because, both games are MMOs. Naturally, to some people, New World is going to appeal more. To other people, Lost Ark is going to appeal more. Personally, to me, Lost Ark is more appealing to me. And I actually have a problem with them delaying it because early 2022 is Elden Ring.
Yes, there's so many games, but Elden Ring's not an MMO.
Crazy.
Right? So
I don't care.
Right, meaning you can play Elden Ring and then essentially like you can then jump into Lost Ark. You're not like from a time perspective, like at some point, like I would assume that you would finish Elden Ring and you're like, okay, great, I've done all that there is to do that I want to do in that game.
You don't finish Elden Ring. Elden Ring finishes you. No, but
is that going to be my first From Software game that you're going to make me play?
You've never played a From Software game? Not
yet. Like I'm actually having more time for games now that the kids are being a little bit more independent.
I'm leaving this podcast right now. No, but on a serious note, it's like I don't know if there's a motive specifically for them to, it's like, oh, we're pushing it back so that New World is more successful. I would heavily doubt that because I mean they would have known. It's not like they decided yesterday that like, oh, we're going to release this in fall. It's like they knew that, New World is going to be released in September and that Lost Ark was going to be releasing in fall. I think that it's just what they've said that it's like, hey, look, it's taken a lot of time to properly localize this. It's already localized in Russia though, right? Is that not a thing? But it's not English.
It's in Russia, but it's not English. And so it's that. And then, I mean, essentially Amazon's the publisher. So they're going to have a lot more like control and say over it. And so you're talking voice acting, you're talking, it sounds like from what I got their message is that they're really trying to make sure that this is a high quality product, because I think my theory, especially when we talk about New World, I feel New World is a really high quality product. Cannot wait and hope that they have a really good launch, because I think that will be interesting to see just from a case study perspective. But then if you think about it, if Lost Ark is a high quality game, you could literally be looking at all of a sudden Amazon saying, yeah, you had a couple of duds that you never released. Good call, because then they can start to associate Amazon games as a premium brand with two high quality releases.
I definitely hope that they get something right, because like with their current track record, if they don't knock New World out of the park, like I don't know, dude. It's like they got the money to keep putting out duds, but I don't think Amazon's going to be too happy with that.
No, not at all. Right. Yeah, they want to release games and make money.
Yeah,
is that
exactly.
Oh, we started a game studio charity. Please donate to this charity. No,
but it's one of those things. I don't think that there's anything in regards to like, oh, we've stepped this thing out of the way so that New World could succeed. I don't think that's the reason why. And with New World not necessarily having like even a what do you call it, a subscription fee model,
right?
I don't think it would even be that big of a deal. It's like none of these games has like a subscription fee model, so you can play both of them if you want to, or play none if you don't want to play any of them. So my biggest concern is still how pay to win is it going to be, because I haven't really done too much research into it, because it does have those items with XP boosters and all of this stuff. And is it going to be supported on the level of the Korean release, or are we going to be seeing like massive lag between the patches? Those are my concerns for Lost Ark, right? And also, is it going to reach critical mass, considering that there's been so much hype for this game back in like 2017, I think, because people played the Korean version. Now it's also already in Russia. There's people playing the Russian version. Like, are people actually going to come over to the Western version to play it when it comes out?
I think so. I played the
I
Korean
hope
version.
so, because I want to play it.
Yeah, I played the Korean version and I loved it. And essentially what ended up having, like, kind of when you talk about losing hope, Hunter, was when, like, I was like, is this game even going to come to the West? Like, okay, because like it was such a pain to be able to go play the Korean version that ultimately it was like, there's no way I can get my friends to come play this with me.
Oh, hell no.
And that's just not the case. But when it eventually comes out in 2022, I think it's going to be a really good option for a game. It supports controller, which I think anybody who's been following my content knows. Yeah, okay, it supports controller. Brian's there. It's like when a game doesn't, it's like, I don't know. I might make time for it. We will see. And then the real honest answer is I'm just not going to do that right now. Like I'm going to go to the game that has the control scheme and that accessibility that works for my lifestyle, and that's not on the game, or like, I'm not making a judgment to anybody who doesn't have my lifestyle. It's just, that's the reality.
Leveled up on Guild Wars 2 until max level.
I actually have a couple.
Doesn't have controller support.
It technically kind of does.
I know.
I did go out and purchase. I did go purchase like a.
You bought the Nostramos and a mouse
and an MMO mouse, and that actually was a huge help. but why am I podcasting with you gentlemen and not playing Guild Wars 2 right now? Like Guild Wars 2, if it's supported, like if I could just pick up, play it, I'd be playing it downstairs. I'd be playing it on the TV. I'd be playing, like, I go to the games that offer that. Final Fantasy 14 is a real key indicator of that, that aspect. Now, as it goes for like Lost Ark and New World, honestly, the thing I wonder is that down the road, because it's Amazon, if just like we see cross-pollination with Blizzard, if that's something that they'll start to do. I see in the comments, though, a lot of anti-New World from the Lost Ark base. And I think that there's that mindset that they feel that New World is like siphoning off Lost Ark. What do you think?
I don't see it. Again, I don't see it. I think it would be a dumb decision just because, you're pissing off your player base for no reason. It's like people want to play Lost Ark, and I don't necessarily think that these two games even cannibalize each other, because the play experience of something like New World is going to be, like I said, there will be people that like both of them, but it is so fundamentally different the way that these games play that I definitely see people, okay, no, New World is the thing for me, Lost Ark is the thing for me, and people are going to veer off towards one side or the other. Mm-hmm. And it's not like New World is even, that big of an investment. It's going to be like $40, right? That's the cost of New World.
New World's 40 like and it's 50 for the deluxe edition. So
yeah. So I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that because we are in the pandemic and not everybody's got disposable income, but I'm just saying, like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a $70 AAA game. Like, you have to make this big decision on whether or not you're going to.
If you are struggling, I am giving a deluxe edition copy away over on Twitter. So if you guys are following my Twitter, he's not plugging that. I actually do a horrible job. I'm like, I should have plugged this stuff at the beginning. Follow Rurikon and Hunter. Also, their links in the description. But I am giving away deluxe edition, so be sure to go follow over on Twitter and retweet the tweet, and that way you will be eligible to win a copy. And we'll be doing some more giveaways of the game, over on YouTube. Go ahead.
I actually meant to ask you because right now, to get access to Lost Ark, you have to buy like a Founders Pack that gives you like 3 days early access or whatever when the game eventually comes out.
Yeah, it's free.
But it will be free to play, right?
Yes.
When it comes out.
Yeah,
so that's another thing. Like, you don't even need to make an investment in Lost Ark to play it. So it's like, again, I really don't think that Amazon is doing this to like, oh, we're giving a clear runway to New World. To me, it doesn't make sense due to how different the two games are and even how different the two business plans are. I don't think these are going to cannibalize each other. They're different enough.
I want to focus this as a topic that I actually have up on screen. But before I do, Tyler actually is asking, do we know if New World's going to actually have controller support at launch? We do. I have a controller guide out over on Ginger Prime, Tyler, that helps you walk through setting up the controller. They are not going to have their native controller support, meaning you can't, like, with the controller,
work through Steam, right?
It works through Steam, works fantastically. There's a couple of things you'll still need your keyboard and mouse for, but I'm assuming that it's going to run great on Steam Deck. That's my hope. I'll let you guys know when my Steam Deck shows up and I install Lost Ark, and not actually Lost Ark on it as well, but New World on it, and things like that. But yes, the controller support does work. I have a guide set up already for you. If you're curious, you can go check that out and you can be ready for the open beta or release. But gaming, and I don't know what the symbol means, so we'll just say gaming says, I'm really looking forward to Lost Ark. Do you guys think it would be a safe haven for WoW refugees, or is it or is this for someone who wants to play something similar? You're more familiar with WoW than I am. I think there's a connection to Blizzard, but I'm going to go to Rory and then when I go to Hunter.
I don't think that this is. I think this is very different from what you expect from World of Warcraft. This is much closer to a Diablo than a World of Warcraft. Not even just because of the camera angle, but even in the way that the gameplay itself works. Because even though I've never played it, I have seen videos on the game, and I've even seen Eric's Gaming, for instance. He did coverage of this when it was available in Korea, like the first time that they announced the game, and he was playing it, and he said that it actually felt like some Monster Hunter aspects on it because of the action combat. So this is very different from World of Warcraft, and I wouldn't say necessarily that if you're someone that really enjoys World of Warcraft, you're gonna really like the Lost Ark. I think that for World of Warcraft players, you're probably better off with Guild Wars 2 or Final Fantasy 14. I think those are a little bit closer to home, in my opinion.
What do you think, Hunter?
Yeah, stole my answer. No, I think the
Cheating on
biggest
my
thing.
homework.
Yeah, you have my notes over here.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is coming off of something like World of Warcraft. What I searched for, and I know a couple of friends that have a similar MMO background, is what makes Lost Ark an MMO. Because when I look at it, the first things I see are Diablo or Torchlight or other action RPGs that I played in the past, which are some of my favorite online RPGs to play with friends, but doesn't make it an MMO. Like there's a distinction, and there's an answer. And like Lost Ark, I do think should be considered an MMO, but I think the fact that you even have to ask shows that there is a difference between the experience that you'll have coming from a World of Warcraft, where looking at it, it is key what you're getting in that experience, and like it's obviously a massively multiplayer online RPG. And Lost Ark is just different in presentation and gameplay, which doesn't make it better or worse. I think it's going to be a ton of fun, but might not draw you in for the same reasons that World of Warcraft drew players in.
The having played like Lost Ark, I definitely felt like it was a massive evolution in Diablo, and I was like, I think Blizzard and Diablo are in trouble when I was playing Lost Ark, because it is that MMO, and it's like, so you're like, you know, you're online, you're not necessarily like I'm in this one game. Diablo 3 made it a little bit, was moving in that direction slightly, but obviously you're like in this big world, you go to these cities, you see lots of other players. And so it is something that I felt was really interesting and exciting. The gameplay, the combat, and more was the big differentiator. The fact that it supported controllers was great, because I was like, oh yeah, I'm comfortable just running through these quests, doing these missions, not understanding a word that's being told to me, but still, no matter what, having a good time with it. Now, is this a safe place for WoW refugees? I think some people are going to find that. I think if you enjoy Diablo and you enjoy World of Warcraft, I think you're going to find something really exciting about Lost Ark. I think that's going to be a real good connection, and it cannot be ignored. I'm so happy that it's finally coming here to the West. And then I started getting excited about it, and then they delayed it. And I was like, I should have probably not gotten excited about it until it actually came out. Dadgummit. You know, but at its core, yeah, it's got the isometric design. So like, if that is something that you are not necessarily a fan of, I would equate it more to like PoE, you know, and so that way it's like, hey, that's the connection that you might find there. And then essentially, if you're looking for something similar, Final Fantasy 14 is going to be interesting. New World's going to be an interesting kind of connection for a lot of like, I think, WoW players, because I see a lot of players who now have come to WoW, come to 14, and had that barrier broken down by Asmongold and Rich and a lot of the content creator community. But there's still those that are like, it's just not for me. It's too similar to WoW. And that's where I see a lot of players talking about New World, because it offers something different and I would say very polished from the first time you actually step into the world, and you're like, wow, like it feels like, you know, it's very immersive to me personally. What do you guys think? Is New World gonna, like, where does it fall on y'all's radar right now?
I mean, in my personal, like, I've already said this in one of the other podcasts. It's like, I just wish that they wouldn't, like, that starting quest that you have. I just wish it wasn't so back and forth and back and forth and back and like it kills it. Like, I can't even read the quest anymore, because I'm just like, look, I can't. I just want to get out of here. I just want to get out of there's 1,000 people in this beach. Just let me leave. I just want to go somewhere else where it's more quiet. There's too many players around here, you know. So it's like, I wish it wasn't as strict with you needing that main quest to get the staff of whatever. I wish they just, hey, look, you can just craft this staff and you can come back and do this quest whenever you want. And that to me would be like such a massive improvement, where it's like, good, I just want to go over to a random village and do quests over there. Like, I just want to find a random village that I like on a zone that I think is cool and just do quests in that zone and have fun over there, and just like not even touch the main quest. Because like, for main quest, I already have a game where I want to play the main quest, and that's Final Fantasy 14. That's my main quest game. And so I don't want as much of like these linear directed questing experiences from New World. I wanted a little bit more sandbox, which this is one of the reasons why I've actually been playing, you know, whenever I have just a little bit of free time, I play a little bit of Guild Wars 2, because it gives you that sandbox. It's like,
That
hey,
freedom.
you want to go to a zone and just like do random stuff? Go to a zone and do random stuff. And I'm like, I love this. This is amazing. Exactly what I want.
100%, man. I get a vibe when I was playing New World for the first time of Final Fantasy 11, and it's essentially for me like when I step into the world and actually like cut down my first tree and having that sense of like they've brought in that main quest, and I definitely we talked about this on the last podcast, but I definitely feel and want them to bring back more of that open world fighting of enemies, because like they were like, okay, we're gonna get more of the quest experience, and it's like no, like that's fine if you want that as an option, but it should be an option, because I like to just go out and run around and explore and like run into enemies and get into trouble and make some chaos. And I hope that we'll see that adjustment with the launch. But do you feel any when you look at New World, Hunter, do you see any kind of parallels to Final Fantasy 11? I saw more in Valheim, which is a game we both played, and I actually started playing that because of your video. But yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna give you the floor.
Yeah, at a glance, no. The one thing that has me very excited, and it's gonna sound like really boring, but the gathering and the harvesting, the way that they handle that in New World, I think is one of the coolest things that draws me in from like a Final Fantasy 11 player, because everything. You get close to anything, a bush, a stick, a twig, a full tree of rock, everything is harvestable. So it makes me excited for the exploration aspect, which is one of my favorite parts of Final Fantasy 11. Like zone design is just like always like, what's over the next hill or around the next corner? Is it a notorious monster? Is it something, a new camp that we could farm in or gain XP in? And that I think is one of the cooler parts of what New World's doing, is that like because of that density, it's easy to get excited about exploration and trying to find a new section that has a plethora of useful ingredients that I could harvest, whether it be from enemies or from various gathering or fishing. Finding those like hidden ponds could be so much fun. Other than that, I'm really excited about the game. I think you guys are right. The heavy focus on PvE, and especially this like main story quest, kind of drives me away more than it draws me in, which is funny because that's the kind of game that I love. Final Fantasy 11, Final Fantasy 14 thrive on that whole concept, but 11 did have more of that, like, yeah, do it whenever. You just go kill things until you level up for a while. And then like a week later, I was like, I guess there's a quest somewhere I should go find. And I'm worried that too much focus on that will detract from the other cool elements. And it's funny that I say that because my other big fear is that I'll be too casual to get into the really fun 50 versus 50 PvP elements that sound amazing, but I could totally see myself being, a little bit under level cap, or I haven't kept up with my gear. And the day comes where we're going to do some raid against, the one of the zones that my guild in theory is trying to take over. And I'm like, guys, I'm not going to be any help for this. I haven't been playing enough, because I'm always pulled in so many different directions. I love the idea of PvP games, but I always feel like I need to fully invest in them to get the most out of the PvP element, or I'm left behind and I get squashed. And I'm worried that'll happen here. I'm hoping that's not the case, but that's mostly just me with my fears.
See, Brian, I want to point out that none of us are excited for that main quest.
I was like, so when they said they were going theme, like they're like adding theme park elements, I go, that makes sense to help that translation. I'm more excited for the sandbox effects.
Yeah.
Like you talk about not being able to get in a 50v50. Like honestly, I'm like, I don't care if I get into one. Awesome. I'm excited to experience that. But like, I'm just as happy as going around chopping down trees, making arrows, selling them on the market for hopefully a profit, going around, like it's just like I want that. Because I already have, like you said it perfect, Rory, I already have that questline MMO and story that I'm hyperly invested in with 14. I don't need this to be 14. I want this to be different enough that it's, and so then like I get that you should have something, but I want New World to be a sand park,
should be
not a theme park or not a sandbox. Yeah, optional.
Yeah. It's like, I know you got the hookups over there, so you got to clip this, send it to them, and listen, guys, ease up on that main quest, okay? Let it be optional. And it's like the players that want that quest, they can come do it, because there's going to be a lot of people that they're already getting their story fix somewhere else. And I think that even a large majority of those people are going to be getting their story fix in 14 because of the recent shifts in MMO population and whatnot. And it's like, look, you on your brand new game, you're not going to beat 14 in story. I don't care how good it's just not going to happen. It's just straight up not going to happen. Like, you shouldn't even try to beat it on that purpose. Like, sure, build out your world. I think it is important. Build out your lore, but like, don't make it a focal point of the player experience, because right now it is what it is. It is a focal point. Like, you get introduced to the game, you get on that beach, and you're kind of like forced to basically do it, because if you don't do it, you're going to miss out on a lot of progression with the staff that can close the things and whatnot.
You need it to be able to do those. And those are a lot of fun. And those are a lot of fun. You can still do them without, but you just need somebody there that can actually close it.
The thing.
Otherwise, you're like, I'm just killing these monsters until they kill me.
For no reason.
For no reason. For no reason. But it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, we're looking at, the official date actually not moving this time. So it's just a few more weeks till that release. We'll have a couple of months after that. We'll get Lost Ark. We got Final Fantasy 14 in November. So many big releases. Elden Ring at the beginning of the year. So guys, be sure to follow Rurikon for especially Elden Ring. He's already committed that he's going to stream that over on YouTubeGaming as an event. So Hunter, I want to go ahead.
Blind gameplay. Blind gameplay.
Blind gameplay.
Perfect.
Hunter, like, what do you got going on? What can you promote?
Geez, nothing at all. No, I'm kidding. It is funny. I feel like I'm waiting for the same things everybody else is waiting for. I'm really excited for New World at the end of the month. Definitely going to have some content coming out around that. We've been streaming a lot of 11 private servers, as well as we did our first 14 stream in a while last night, which was a lot of fun, trying to catch up and make sure we're ready for Endwalker. Because I've never missed a launch day, and I've realized I'm not actually quite at the end of the post content. Nothing's quite done. As well as hopefully Endwalker. Little known fact that one of the first few videos to blow up on Hunt for Games was actually 14 content back during like the Heavensward launch. And at some point it sort of shifted into this 11 monster, but I do love 14. I'm very excited for Endwalker's launch. We'll see what comes with that.
I've on the last few days, you know what I did, Brian?
What?
I beat Kugane Tower.
Congrats, man.
I beat Kugane.
Tip of the hat. Oh my gosh, that's an achievement. I almost have my first ever N14 relic finished. I have 2 more level 70 dungeons, and I'm hoping to knock those out today.
Nice. What job?
I'm on my white mage, and then I'm gonna finish it up on my gunbreaker, and then I actually have several all in progress, but I've never finished a relic in my entire Final Fantasy 14 career. And so it's kind of like I have to get these 2 done, because it would be so me to be like, I just got 2 more of these things to do. I'll get to it later, and then never do it,
and then never do it.
Yeah, just I never get to it. And so that's where I'm at with that. So and then we're just doing various challenges within 14, and then I think on the 28th, that I'm going to be just living and breathing in New World for at least until November the 19th. So I'm very excited for that. But Rory, what you got any video projects or anything you want to promote coming up?
I mean, I just did the Elden Ring video. That was my big thing. And the worst part is that when I was doing that video, I was like, dude, I'm spending hours upon hours of researching this, reading God knows how many articles, because I didn't actually get to see the new gameplay. So I'm forced to scour the internet for every little bit of information, and then use my experience in the Soulsborne series to kind of elaborate on that. And so I spent a ton of hours working on it. And then today, as I was putting it together, I'm like, dude, I spent so many hours on this, going to get no views. It's like a 1 hour video.
Go watch the video.
Dissecting everything on Elden Ring. It's insane.
It always feels like the videos I put more, the more effort I put into a video, the less it does. And the more just hey guys, just sitting here, thought I'd share this thought that I had with y'all. And
yeah, the random thoughts that you spit out in 20 minutes. It's more views than any other video ever. You spend all this time researching, crafting, doing the video editing to the absolute perfection. It's nothing.
I'm proud of those videos though. Those are fun. But obviously that's where you see less and less of those, because it's well, at the end of the day, okay, what do people really want? Guys, be sure to go follow Rurikon and Hunter from Games. I got their links tagged in the description, and you guys also, if you're listening live, be sure to go and search Epic Loot Radio wherever podcasts are found, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast in MP3 format. And if you feel like reviewing it, I would recommend awesome, but you guys feel free to review it any way that you guys see fit. Guys, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up today's podcast?
Have fun.
Have fun.
Keep gaming.
Keep gaming.
Exactly.
That's a great thing. Have fun. Keep. It's almost like, oh man, I don't know if it's appropriate, but it's like where I kind of, when I hear those two words together, I start to think Cool Runnings. Like you get a little Jamaican accent just going on in the background of my mind. I don't know if that's bad, but if it is, then I guess somebody will let me know. All right, guys, this has been Epic Loot Radio. Thanks so much for tuning in live. Thanks for being here. And if you enjoyed the show, give it a like, subscribe, share is the most important thing. And yeah, thank you guys. Love you. Love you faces. Hope to see you in our next podcast. But until then, take care.